The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is in a lot of ways the granddaddy of slasher films. Up until now, I've been reviewing horror films that happen to be about murders, and while they're all prototypical of slasher films, their contribution to the genre was more in lines of inspiring it rather than being part of it. But with this movie, you're definitely in the shit. If you've never seen this film, you might have the sort of wrong idea about what it's like. You might picture a generic slasher guy chasing people around and killing them with a chainsaw, a huge body count, and tons of graphic depictions of violence. In other words, fun, gory, and startling, but not particularly good or scary. Well, that's far from the truth. Although the killer Leatherface does chase people with a chainsaw, only one person is killed with it, the rest being dispatched by other means. The movie's body count is not staggeringly high, and it's not particularly gory. Most of the real carnage is implied rather than shown explicitly. Also, the movie's horror comes not from jump scares and buckets of blood, but a genuinely creepy atmosphere and gritty realism. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was marketed as a true story, and I'm here to tell you that, no, it's not a true story. Certain aspects of the characters were inspired by real-life serial killers, but this is only a story. But what makes it so scary is the fact that it could be true. We're not dealing with the supernatural or even impossibly tough killers who just cleave their way through anybody they see for no particular reason. The antagonists, a family of inbred cannibals who lure travelers into their house, murder and butcher them, things like this happen in real life. And it's portrayed in a very realistic manner. The story follows a group of teenagers who are traveling through Texas. They pick up a hitchhiker, but the guy is fucking crazy. He cuts himself with a knife, takes a picture of one of the characters, and then demands money for it. And when they tell him no, he flips out, burns the picture, and slashes at one of them with a knife. So they kick his ass out of the van and continue on. They're running low on gas, so they go to a gas station to find that there's no gas there, but they buy some food and decide to press on to their destination. They'll come back later for gas. While wandering around in the countryside, they come across a seemingly abandoned old house and wander in. And that's when the shit hits the fan. They're quickly attacked by a territorial maniac called Leatherface. He's called that because he has a dried-out human skin for a mask, and he attacks them with weapons such as a sledgehammer or a chainsaw. Several characters are killed, and the main girl manages to get away by running to the gas station. But the attendant there is in on the whole thing. All of this was a plan of the murderous cannibalistic Sawyer family. The hitchhiker is Leatherface's brother, and after he cut himself and was removed from the van, he smeared blood on the side of it. The gas station attendant, also a member of the Sawyer family. He sees the blood mark and strands them by denying them fuel. Then when the girl is chased back to the gas station by Leatherface, he captures her and brings her back to the house. She's brought to in a nightmarish dinner table where the Sawyers taunt her with promises to murder her and process her corpse for food. The corpse-like grandfather is given the honor of killing her with a hammer, but he's so old that he can't swing it properly and he keeps dropping it. And the rest of the family are trying to help him, and in the commotion she gets away again, and is once again chased by Leatherface. She gets away, but Leatherface and the Sawyers are still out there, waiting for the next group of foolish wanderers to fall into their snare. The atmosphere of the Sawyer house is horrific. There's furniture made from human and animal bones, preserved corpses, human meat on hooks, human remains in freezers, and it's all presented in an unsaturated, gritty manner. It feels real. The dinner scene, it's like a nightmare. It's almost entirely presented in the first person, so it feels like you're there. What's interesting is that although Leatherface steals the show as the main villain, to me he's not the scariest character. By far that honor would go to Grandpa. The first time you see him, you assume he's been dead for quite some time. He just looks like a corpse sitting in a wheelchair. And then when he moves and he sucks the blood from the main girl's finger, it's eerie as fuck. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of my favorite horror films of all time. And although I'm a fan of the slasher genre, no film since this one has topped it, to be honest. There's been plenty of good ones, great ones even. But to me, this is the king of the hill, as good as it gets. Texas Chainsaw Massacre got 3 sequels, only the first of which really feels like it's connected to the first movie. And even then, it's a completely different vibe, going for over-the-top comedy horror rather than gritty realism. There was also a remake, which was good, and a prequel to the remake, and recently a sequel that ignored everything but the original, which was entertaining but not particularly smart or well thought out. So really, although there's 7 movies with an 8th on the way, nothing really comes close to the original. Highly recommend it. 10 out of 10.